Okay, live, and we are finally live. Hey, everybody. I am Haley Gray, and I have a great guest with me tonight. This is Carolyn Byrd, and she is going to be one of our When Live presenters. We're going to be talking tonight about finding balance.
It's a big one. Yeah.
Yeah. So raise your hand if you feel like balance is non-existent in your life, or, at times is non-existent.
It's like elusive.
Yeah.
That's me. Oh, other hand.
That's me. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I can make it go like that, and you can see both hands.
Yeah, we can do both hands.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, that's me. No balance. Yeah. Crazy life. Batshit bonkers. I mean, life happens. We were talking before we got on tonight and comparing war stories.
The appliances in the house and the cars are just sort of all going on like mass exodus. They're crapping out. So
so let's just say in my house in the last few months, the washer and dryer had to be replaced. Last month, I had to replace the garage door opener. Right now, you probably can't hear the beeping in the background, but the hot water heater is beeping, but they didn't put the little valves on either side to like descale it, so you can't descale it. So,
are they going to fix that? Is that a coming soon to being fixed, or no?
Yeah, it's coming soon to being fixed, but it's just one of those things of, something that should have been, a $50 fix is now not a $50 fix. It's a $2,500 fix.
Oh, no.
This is just like life, right?
It is. And I think like on my side, we just put $3,000 into the car because the air conditioning went, and we have pup do guests. The air conditioning went, and that was right after we decided to redo all the doors because they were 17 years old and starting to dry rot and like they do, and then of course
driving a car here without air conditioning is like.
Oh,
we live in North Carolina. It is not a good thing.
It's a no-go. And then, of course, I'm going away for training for 2 weeks, so won't be income producing in those 2 weeks. So, of course, it happens.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, yeah, the finding balance and all of that, it was, as these things came in, similar to your situation, it was sort of like, how do I ground down in this? How do you get through? Because as I was saying to Haley earlier, for me, I've had to really shift my perspective on what balance is. It's not destination. Yeah. It's this constant act of, it's a verb. It's a doing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's a constant realignment, readjustment.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost like, it's one of those, kinesthetic machines or, where, things are constantly in motion, like back and forth and back and forth. Yes. And always trying to find that balance point.
I like the idea that, it's sort of a closed system. And so like, if it feels out over here, that just means that it's something over here is redoing. So it's really all in balance in the longer journey of things.
Right. And I mean, to me, the thing with balance is that you can have everything. You can be all the way over here, but you have to understand that sucker is going to swing over here at some point.
Absolutely. It's not a constant state. And especially for people in the entrepreneurial space who are always trying to grow or modify or, shift something, that evolution imbalance is almost inherent to that process. Mm-hmm. So how do we keep centered in, what's the flexibility, the adaptability in that? Mm-hmm. How do you deal with that? Like, you've got so much going on.
Yeah, it's like the cat in the hat on the, riding the bike over the tension wire, and kind of doing all the things, right? Yeah, I mean, how do you do it? It's kind of like that question of how do you eat an elephant?
Yeah, a little bit. Find a little thing that you can do and focus on that. I had to do that today. That was my, just dropped off the, got the Jeep, dropped them, gave them a bunch of money, and was driving away, leaving in a week and a half. It was like, okay, what can I focus on that I can control right now? How can I chip away and sort of reframe to make myself, feel like, oh, I'm actually doing something today. It's going to be all right.
Right. Yeah. Giving yourself that little bit of love, going, okay, I'm going to breathe. I'm going to be okay.
Exactly.
It's going to be nuts, but it'll be okay. It'll be an okay kind of nuts, but it'll be okay.
And then the day turns around. I actually had a great day with great clients. There's another element of imbalance.
Totally, right?
Here. And so it just becomes part of the larger picture. And, focus, like I said, going back to focusing on what you can control. I worked a lot with control circles and block them out, get rid of them. It's just noise, opinions, criticism from other people, the news, if you're lucky enough to be able to shut that out. All the nitty gritty stuff, even, just the stuff that weighs on us that you can filter out. And then that really helps me, at least, to focus in on, okay, this is what I can get done when those unexpected things come, sort of knock you out of balance.
Yeah. And what you can control and what you can't control. Can't control the kids screaming in the background.
No. And I have to keep the door open or I'm going to be in a full sweat. So apologies on that one.
Right. And chances are, if your house is anything like mine, if you shut the door, then somebody's going to come and bang on the door the whole time you're on live. So it's not going to matter that you're sweating and that you're trying to keep the door shut. You probably just made the situation worse by trying to shut the door in the first place.
Yeah. Or the dog, the cat, any of them. They're all, it's like, any time when you're like, hey, this just have to expect.
Yeah. Well, and like my dog has been wandering through whining because she's not happy that my husband went out to go run errands. Can't control the fact that the dog is wandering through doing her.
Right. And to that point, sort of letting go of that perfectionism that it's supposed to look a certain way. And I can hear somebody coming up right now, that, we're supposed to have this sort of stationary image, and that's what we are. And that's, it's cute to have a headshot and everything. But that's not really the depth of, what shows up. And,
no.
It's all of it, and letting go of that idea that, we're supposed to be the Barbie or the plastic image. Really,
totally.
It's pretty empty.
Right. Well, and, here's the funny thing is that, I mean, maybe somebody else's life is like perfect and neat and organized. But I'm going to be honest. My life is never perfect or neat or organized. Like I've got 4 kids. They're doing their things.
Right. And I think we have to step into that, into the mess. That's the people I've known in my life who I really think have like had it all. They really have it all, but they know how to be in the middle of the chaos and find that balance. And that, that's the key, is how do we stay in the middle of the mess, the moving parts, and keep ourselves centered through that process, because it is messy.
Absolutely.
In the last 10 years, I've had to reinvent myself 3 different times. got married, was in the military, started businesses, had multiple businesses, looked different. Now I have a child, all just constantly evolving. And then, boom, COVID, and that's a big one. We're all grappling with that chaos. And
and that like severely impacted your business, like your brick and mortar business.
I totally had to pivot, and that that catchword everybody's using right now. But I think I pivoted quite a few times trying to figure out, and it was pretty dizzying. But yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But that's, I think, the people that like I said, I've admired the most and sort of been like, okay, this is a role model for me. They have so many things moving around, but they still keep that focus. They keep that centeredness amidst the messy, because gosh, it's messy. And letting go of that idea of perfectionism.
And hey, Kathy, she says she's commenting because she tried to find you today and couldn't. Hopefully this will help you find you again. I'm not sure which one of us you were trying to find, but sure. Hopefully it'll help.
We're here.
We're here. We're here. Yes, we are here. We are here. We are here. Yeah, we can absolutely give out our contact information so you can find us. But yeah, that pivoting and changing and adapting, because life is changing.
Yes. Yes. And I think this has had such an impact that we're still in a real big place of unknowns. And that can be super scary. Try to really cling to the permanent, which there's not a lot of that right now.
Yeah. Well, and I have a friend who, when COVID first started, they're a personal trainer, and, it's just 2 weeks. So in their head, it was like, okay, this will be over and everything will be normal soon. And they were able to kind of tell themselves that it was all going to be normal soon. And now, like, that realization that, oh my gosh, we're 14 months in, that's when that's when the stress really started coming on, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh my gosh, it's still going and there's no end in sight.
Yes.
So how do you help people find, balance in that, I'm digging my way through a tunnel and there is no end in sight? So COVID is a really good example of that. Parenthood is another amazing example of that. I've got a toddler in the house and they are not cooperating. And, I'm trying to get through this whole parenthood thing, but it's driving me nuts.
Yeah. So a lot of what I've worked on, we talked about the control circles, sort of doubling down on what you can control and what brings you joy, figuring that out and cultivating that awareness of what are the small things that you can bring in. I have ADHD, and so dopamine hits are a thing for me. And sort of, it's just positive reinforcement, really, being aware of like what makes you feel good, what perks you up, what gets you sort of motivated and the energy going. And those are so important, especially when globally we're in a slog. We're feeling sluggish, and so
absolutely.
Allowing ourselves to feel icky, feel the crap, because there's, like you said, your personal trainer friend, there is this want to deny that things are bad or that things are maybe not the ideal, the image of what we wanted. So that place of acceptance and place of feeling that things are not going the way that we planned, wanted, et cetera, et cetera. And I think, especially if you're in the entrepreneurial space, that feeling probably already, but this is a bigger one. And it's compounded by how many layers or areas of your life that you have that you may be feeling that. So example of self, the day I shut my office down last May 2020, I guess 2 Mays ago now, my husband broke his ankle the same day. and we have a 4-year-old. And so it was just so many layers of unknown and not control. And so it was pretty much recognizing all of that, accepting it, and then getting real clear about what I can focus on and get rid of the noise. I mean, I wasn't of social media, but I really pared down anything that drained me. So anybody who was negative on social media was gone. Screened phone calls, screened text messages, no news for a while. That was a buzzkill for me. So that's the exercise that I invite people to go through. And it's over many different sessions. And it's harder, said than done, because even
it's much easier said than done to do this stuff. It just, I tell people things like, I don't take my cell phone into my bedroom unless I am, I have a particular reason to have my cell phone in the bedroom, and it's like once in a blue moon. I don't take my cell phone into the bedroom. If I am, on my desktop, I'm on my desktop, but I've turned off most of the visible and audible notifications for everything. So guys, I only check my email like once or maybe twice a day. And I try to operate with a 0 inbox policy, but it just means that I'm not constantly checking it, and
that's a great one.
Are like over here. I check it a few times a day, but I'm not like on it all the time. Or you drive yourself nuts.
Yes. That's a good one, that sort of the time blocking, sort of carving out, we've a fellow kitty.
Yes. Mine just already came and ate and left. But that's why I was backing up the camera, because I figured, hey, we've got a guest.
We do. She'll probably pop up in a minute. But the time blocking, and then also scheduling in time for yourself. That's a huge one. And that one was, I even made a whole course about it during COVID, because I wasn't doing any other work. But it's catchy right now, self-care, but real self-care, as in like time blocking, setting good boundaries, good communication, and figuring out what works for you. I mean, bubble baths and massages are great. Don't get me wrong. I am a massage therapist, so yes, I love that.
Yes, please.
Exactly. But the real self-care is how do you navigate in this world and keep your center, keep your balance, getting real about your time management. There's a lot that drains our energy and our time, that if we just set that boundary, and again, easier said than done, you get so much back. You get so much of your time and your energy and productivity back. So that's back to finding balance, really key as well.
Yeah, I don't answer my phone unless I've got a scheduled call. I know that sounds really weird, but I'm on the phone or I'm on Zoom 8 to 10 hours a day.
Oh, wow.
So if I'm not on Zoom or I'm not already on a call, chances are I'm intentionally unplugged.
Mm-hmm.
So I schedule all of my calls. And it's not that I don't have time for calls. It's that I schedule my calls. So my clients know to schedule time with me, and I'm happy to book time.
Right.
It's intentionally scheduled, and I don't answer the phone while I'm on a call with somebody else either.
I think that's huge. One of the, technology and our accessibility is an awesome tool. A lot of us wouldn't have gotten through COVID without it, but it makes those the time and the accessibility boundaries really fuzzy. Mm-hmm. And so, it's easy in between clients. If I'm in the office, I have to do my notes. I have to, check in and, different timetables, but there's no phone calls then, because I have to focus on this. And it's easy for, my husband to give me a call. And so we have a rule. He calls twice if it's an emergency, and then I'll pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's our cue. But otherwise, he knows that I'll give him a call on the way home. Yeah. But that, with the advent of internet and cell phones, we're just so, like, those boundaries are so permeable that it's really hard to set that and say, nope, I'm at work, I'm here, I can't be available to you. And for some reason, people feel a lot of guilt about that. They'll, really, oh, well, it'll just take 30 seconds. It'll just, it's like, but it interrupts the flow. It interrupts being present with your client, with your ideas, with whatever you're being productive about. Mm-hmm. So boundaries are a huge one for me, because I think we get all mushy and.
Well, and there's a lot of studies that show that when we interrupt like that, the best analogy I've seen, you see a lot of analogies about multitasking, but it's really analogous to how a computer operates. So when you are doing a task, you're doing the task and you're putting stuff on the stack and you're popping it off the stack and you're doing your thing and you're going through your task. And when you get interrupted, you have to put everything aside, clean it all up, put it all away, switch over here, figure out where you were over here and go through it and start going through it.
Yes.
So there's this amount of time that happens between going through stuff over here and going through stuff over here in what we call in computer terms, a context switch.
Yep.
That eats up CPU time.
Yeah.
So eats up brain time.
Yeah.
And energy. And to me, that's like the best analogy of how the human brain works. So when we're constantly tasking from here to here to here, we're using all of this energy swapping back and forth that is really eating our brains.
Yes. Yes. I love all that terminology. My husband is a computer science engineer, and he will literally say, I cannot context switch right now. And I'm like, gotcha. So, and I think some days he is just a human computer. So, and it does, it uses up the memory and the energy. And oftentimes you can't really get that flow back. Like, have you ever woken up at an idea in the middle of the night, get it out of your head, it's there. But if you interrupt that, if you don't write it down and try to recall it the next morning, the recall doesn't work. And so that's a much larger example, but that's similar break in the recall, and it doesn't, you will not get as integrated of an idea or concept if you keep switching tasks. So getting back to, during this time block, you're not accepting any calls, or during this time block, you're doing X, Y, and Z. And, I have a switch, a label, a sign outside of my door, and it says I'm in or out, and I'll switch it to out of office so people won't bother me, just to carve out that time. So that's a huge part. And like I said, a lot of times I hear people talk about how they feel guilty about it. And that's a whole nother conversation about letting go of, like, why are you feeling guilty about carving this time out for yourself or for your business? So again, bringing back that awareness of what's really going on.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I mean, I think a lot of times we as women do feel guilty for setting boundaries around our time and our brain and our energy, not realizing that if we don't do it, it's like we're walking around perpetually high on marijuana.
Yeah.
Yes. But the effect on the brain is really similar.
It is. And I can only speak from the female perspective, but I do feel the demands on us, the emotional load becomes so taxing, because we're supposed to show up in that perfect, I hate supposed to and should. They really need to just go go out of our vocabulary. But the expectation, the external cultural expectation is we're supposed to balance all of these things, look a certain way, do all of these things. And it's not realistic. So in guilt is such an interesting emotion. I done a deep dive into guilt. And a lot of times, unless you really intentionally did something wrong, which setting boundaries is not really doing something wrong, guilt can be really predecessor of manipulation. So like if you feel that, like question where that guilt comes from.
Absolutely. I love it. This is such an awesome message. I wish people would like internalize this so much. We could go on for days.
It's hard. It's hard stuff. And
it is.
You know, social media, obviously we're on it right now. It's awesome. It's a great tool, but then it does perpetuate sort of that image, you know, that you're seeing the highlight reel, and that's not real.
No, it's not real.
I didn't feel like taking a picture of my car bill this morning and sharing that on Facebook. So, you know.
Yeah, I get it.
But it was there.
It's absolutely real. Totally. Well, thank you guys so much. What is your website, Carolyn?
My website is Carolyn H.P. Byrd. Byrd has a Y in it, BYRD.com. And you can also find me at www.carryintegrativehealth.com.
Cool. So glad to have you here. Thank you for joining me tonight. We should do this more often.
I would love to, and I'm looking forward to doing the lives on the every week.
Awesome.
So glad to be here.
Me too. Yay! Great messages. Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye, guys.